Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you a discussion on the various categories of books. I'm doing this video series in which I'll be discussing some of the bookish things in a very basic way that people who don't know about them can get knowledge about. And the first video in this series was magic systems, and I've linked it down in the description. You can go and check it out if you're interested. And also I'll be making further more videos in the future in this series as well. So without any further ado, let's get into the video right away. Now, talking about the different categories of books, there are four main categories and they are middle grade, young adult, new adult and adult. Usually, the category of book and the genre of book are confused together by many people who don't know the difference between these two things. The main thing which separates the books according to categories is the age range for which they are written. For example, middle grade books are books that are written for middle graders, that is little children, and young adult books are those written for teenagers specifically, and adult books are those which are written for anyone who's above the age of 18. Young adult, which is a huge category, is always wrongly set as a genre by many people when it comes to BookTube and the whole book community as a whole. So if you are not aware of the differences between the categories and the genres of books, I think this video will shed some light in that region. And also I'll be explaining about the four different genres in the most basic level so that you'll be able to differentiate a book based on for whom it is written and what type of content it has, and it will also help you to find the category of books which you enjoy the most. So we'll start with the middle grade books first. Now when it comes to middle grade books, these books are specifically written for children, that is kids who are between the age of 8 and 12 usually, and it can also be written for children who are younger, but they become children's books specifically and they are not middle grade books. Now the thing about middle grade books is that most of the times all the middle grade books focus on a character who's also falling on within this age range itself, that is between 8 and 12 years of age. This is mainly because of the fact that every time when a person is reading a book, they usually like to relate themselves with the main character, and that's one of the main things which differentiates the books into different categories. Most of the books in the different categories follow the characters who also fall into the same age range. So for maximum of the cases, especially when it comes to children's books or middle grade books, the main character will always be a child, that is a person who's between 8 and 12 years of age. And one thing which separates middle grade books from any other type of categories is that the control and restrictions when it comes to writing and publishing middle grade books is a lot high because it is specifically written for children as the target audience, so it must be given a lot more care, and the boundaries for writing the story are also a bit contained because of the fact that they are written for children and some dark themes cannot be explored that easily. Sometimes the main character can also be an adult, but it is written in such a way that the adult is conveying some good message for the child, and it is not written in a way that the adult acts in a really adult manner as well. Also when it comes to middle grade books, there are many content warnings which have to be kept in mind by the author while they are writing the book. It is that it mustn't have any type of mature content at all. Even when it comes to starring adult characters, they cannot act like the adult characters which we read in young adult books and adult books. A great example for the middle grade category is the first two books in the Harry Potter series, which are The Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone and The Chamber of Secrets, and also the Eragon series by Christopher Paolini. All these books are specifically written for children, and the maturity level of these books is kept within the bounds that is made accessible for children, and they are always kept within a tight leash. The next category is young adult or YA, which is definitely the most famous category when it comes to BookTube and Bookstagram in specific, and also the entire book community on the internet as a whole, but it is definitely not the biggest category of books available. Now the young adult category is written for teenagers, that is people who are between 13 and 17 years of age, and mostly the books which are written for young adults are from the point of view or focusing on a young adult always, because that is the stage in which many things are intermediate and also the age of adolescence comes within the teenage range itself. Because of all these things, the young adult category is one of the most famous categories, if not the biggest. There are two main reasons why the young adult category is so famous. It is because the number of people who are reading young adult books is far more compared to the number of people who read middle grade books and adult books alone, because children cannot read adult books and young adult books. At the same time, most of the adults don't read or resonate with the middle grade books, but I'm sure that anyone who's in the age range between 13 and who's an adult of any age can easily resonate with any of the young adult books that are written nowadays. And also, one of the main reasons why young adult is such a great category to read from now is because of the marketing that is done to young adult books, because the target audience when it comes to young adult books is the teenagers, but we can definitely see that most of the adults also love reading YA books nowadays because it is the period of most growth, if you ask me. personally, and that is one of the main reasons why it resonates with many people. And also, most of the adults did not have that many young adult books to read when they were young adults. That may also be a reason why young adult books are marketed and sold more in numbers. Now, when it comes to the control of writing in the young adult books, it is also contained within some boundaries, but there are also some publications which let the authors explore some dark themes also when it comes to young adult books, but the content cannot get graphic because it is definitely not suitable for young readers. The time period during which the young adult books or the young adult category as a whole became so huge and so famous is the 90s and the 2000s, because there are multiple books that were published specifically for teenagers and targeting that type of audience alone in these 2 decades. And from then on, I'm sure that in the past 2 to 3 decades there have been multiple wonderful young adult books which have opened many doors and opportunities for young adult readers as well as adult readers who did not have the opportunity in order to read these books when they were young adults. And also, young adult is mostly misinterpreted as a genre while it is a huge category. Now, talking about new adult books, now these are the books which are written for audience that are in the college going age, usually in between 18 and 25 years of age. And this is mainly because of the reason that there's always a fine bridge that goes in between being a teen and becoming an adult, and this is the small period during which most of the people mentally as well as physically develop in multiple phases, and that's one of the main reasons why it is kind of a buffer between young adult category and adult category as a whole. Now, the margin between new adult and adult is so fine that any books can fall in between both the categories, and definitely there are also some young adult books which are published nowadays that are purely new adult books. New adult books as well as young adult books mostly focus on finding the identity of a character when it comes to the world as a whole, and how a person is starting to see themselves when they become an adult from the time when they were not an adult. So for any person who's trying to get into adult books from young adult or middle grade books, the new adult category is definitely a huge palette from which they can select a lot of different books. Now, a great example for a new adult book is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Now, this is a book which also stars characters who are between 18 and 25 years of age, and the content is also not so graphic that it can be considered as an adult book, and also it cannot be considered so mellow that it can be categorized as a young adult book. It is just in a sweet spot in between being young adult and being adult, and that's definitely a comfortable place for many people to read in and evolve their reading taste from young adult to adult. Now, finally, talking about the hugest category of books, which are adult books, I can say that any book can be read by an adult. So definitely adult books are the hugest category when it comes to the different categories of books. And also, it is very much misinterpreted that young adult is the biggest category of books, when it's definitely not, because young adult has been a category which has come into existence only in the past few decades. But all of the books that were written any time before were focused only on the adults because they were the target audience when it comes to any type of media, and that's one of the main reasons why adult books and adult category as a whole is so huge. And one thing which is so specific for the adult category is that an adult book always stars an adult no matter what happens. There might be some flashbacks in which we see the adult as a young adult or a teen or a middle grader, but it's always the adult as the adult that we are focusing on while we are reading the story. And also, the restrictions when it comes to adult books is totally zero, because any type of content can be written when it comes to an adult book, and there are also some authors which make use of it properly and deliver the things that an adult needs in their life while they are struggling with things. And there are also some authors which totally focus on the entertainment part and provide the graphic content that is enjoyed by many readers. Both of these things are definitely necessary, because not everyone is interested in reading a 1,000-page long historical fiction which is sad and gory and filled with information, and not everyone is also totally interested in reading a adult romance in which both the characters bang continuously. So when it comes to the adult category as a whole, we can see a lot of things that are spread across. There are serious things, there are funny things, there are things which we can totally grasp and learn from, there are things that we can read just for the sake of pure entertainment. So as a whole, the adult category is a huge space in which we can explore a lot more different things, and like any other category, it also has its own pros and cons. So yes guys, that was my video on the various categories of books, and I think that it was useful. And if you did find it useful and enjoyable in some way or the other, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. If you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel, because I publish new videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.